born or are they made? Tomorrow's leadership begins with nurturing today's leaders.
Welcome to the Checkpoint. In this session, we focus on catering and accommodation, a key docket that touches on the everyday life of a student, whether on or off campus. I will be your host, Elizabeth.
And I'm Sarah Wangari. We are joined by these amazing ladies vying for the catering and accommodation docket. On my immediate left is Frida Kibet, and we also have Joylene Aduja. We are also glad to have our audience with us here. They represent the different schools, colleges and faculties in our school. We look forward to a very interactive show, and thank you so very much for joining us.
Okay, now ladies, you should relax. This is just a session, to get to know more about you and not to fry you or to grill you. So I'll get to the questions, and I'll start with you, Frida. Tell us something about yourself.
As you have heard, I'm Frida Kibet, a third-year student in taking control and instrumentation in the Faculty of Science, majorly in the Department of Physics. I'm a humble person, and I love so much interacting with everyone.
All right, thank you. How about you?
My name is Jolina Aduja, pursuing a Bachelor of Science in Physical Sciences at JKUAT here. Basically, I'm a friendly person. I'm outgoing. I'm humble, and I love working with people.
So, how do you handle the fame and the popularity that comes with vying for such a position?
Basically, I'm a friendly person, so I take it in positively, not really languishing so much in the fame. I use it to reach out to people, to interact with the students, to get to know what the challenges they're facing and to try and look for the solutions.
All right. So Frida, given that this is your second time, you're vying for a position that you've had previously, are you handling the fame better than you did previously?
I think of it not as fame. I think of it as more of a session of you and the student, getting to know them better, letting them know you better, letting you, both sides, having the same picture, having the same vision, So we create a platform for both of us for interaction to take place.
We definitely feel like we know you much better, just other than seeing your posters and banners and flyers around. So how are the campaigns faring on, What motivated you to vie for this? Is it the money, is it the fame, or is it the quest to serve the people? What exactly pushed you to this?
I'm passionate about catering and accommodation. I love being with the students every now and then because it's so major, you and the students every now and then, whether it's morning, evening, all through. Catering is sensitive, so is accommodation. So to me,
Jenny, do you share the same ideas or do you have something different from hers?
Yes, I do. But besides that, I've undergone some challenges in the department. That's why I was pushed, because I thought I could do something different. Yes.
Interesting.
My next question basically touches on your personality, yeah? A good leader is one who has a vision, one who can clearly articulate what you want to do for the people in your mission. So what's your vision and your mission, and what do you intend to do for the students who will vote for you? Maybe I'll start with you.
I still have the same mission to make sure that everyone is catered for, accommodated in the best quality accommodation facility, given the best services as students of JKUAT, and I believe for that we'll have to live accordingly to the ways that we're making it. So it's up to me or up to the person who's supposed to be there as a mission.
Okay.
Exactly.
Next.
This is an institution of learning, right? And for you to be able to learn and gain the knowledge that you're here for, you need to be catered for and accommodated well. So my vision is to see that each and every student is given the right accommodation and catered for, so that it can enhance the learning process.
So do you feel that the previous administration did not do a good job on that?
No, they did a very good job, but I think something more can be done to make it better.
So I'm going to focus on Frida for a minute. You've been in this position before. You've had different experience from her, sorry. So definitely when you're putting forward your manifestos and talking to these people, there's something you have that she's not experienced before. The bed bug issue has been a menace in this school for a minute. You've actually made it to the papers in the same round. It's just been on another scale. What do you plan to do about this that you haven't done, or what have you done that you want to improve this time around?
In the past year, they've had the menace, especially during February to July. So we were able to create procedures under which the spraying or how we could control the infestation, and it's currently working together with pest control and all that. So we went through we took another step to go beyond just the administration to get the better ways of how we can deal with it. So at the moment we are talking 25%, and in the beginning it was 90%. So at the moment, I'm saying if we did that in about 4 months, what else can be done in the next?
You mentioned something on administration. When you say administration, is this, we have the deputy vice chancellors, the 3 of them, and the vice chancellor, or are you referring to the hospital administration? Because such an issue should be dealt with by the experts in that field.
Exactly. It's all in one. When you go to the administration, you still go to the hospital.
So who exactly did you deal with?
With the hospital, together with liaising with the Propest and all those people. So we had the connections through. So I managed to get through the hospital, and you managed to get the contracts from the main people who deal with them.
So on this same bed bug issue, because I'm sure for those of us who live inside school, we've had this experience over and over again, what measures are being put in place? Is it the same fumigation over and over again? The same mattresses for like 2-3 years down the line? What is being done exactly to make it a long-term solution instead of waking up to the same issues and trying to just, what is being done?
We have placed standby mechanisms. We have people who spray every now and then. Whenever they're reported, they're being sprayed. We also budgeted for new mattresses this semester, about 800 or more. They're already here in school, so we're supposed to replace every mattress. We also made a consensus with Catering and Accommodation Department on how to deal with the mattress issue, because usually the mattresses are never changed. So I managed to convince them to always change them after every 3 years. So it's a contract that is also going as we speak.
I want to tap on that string a bit longer. Fumigation is good. It's part of the solution. But have you carried out, let me call them health campaigns, to educate the students on hygiene? Because you might fumigate today, and my mattress may be very clean, but someone else who's not very hygiene conscious, probably does not know how to go about keeping the beddings clean, and eventually those bed bugs migrate back to me.
It's not about hygiene actually. It's about, you see, bed bugs feed on blood, not dirt, whether you have dust or anything. They just find somewhere where it's warm so that they can be entertained to be there. So it's a matter of us making sure there's regular checkups inside the rooms every now and then.
So you're saying that poor hygiene does not contribute to that?
Yeah.
So I think she deserves a clap on that. She's really gone through the issue and knows what really happens with this. So Jolene, have you ever had an experience with this bed bug issue? Just new to the school, have you ever even seen a bed bug?
Yes, I have. I've slept in the hostels. I've been bitten by bed bugs.
What are your views about this? I mean, it's like, it's the newest, thing in school. School bed bugs. It's like a combination of things. What do you think about this?
I tried to carry out research on it. So what I was thinking is, if we frequently spray the bed bugs, the same chemicals, at some point they end up mutating, and they form a form of resistance to the chemicals being used. So I was thinking, if we can be carrying out research frequently, we change the chemicals day by day. In that, we can even align ourselves with the academic docket. In that, we open up a research institution whereby students can come in, do the research on the chemicals. That's helping the academic side, right? And then also fighting the bed bugs.
And I'm sure you are aware that can take some time around here, right?
yes, it can, but we're willing to do that.
Cool. All right, my next question is to you, Frida. You know, you've held this position for the last 1 year, and funds were allocated to you. Did you have a standard way of reporting to your students? Let me put it like that. Can you account for your funds, and did you hold any events? And if you did, do you feel that they were effective?
Yes, I've held several events, including a health and hygiene awareness. We've gone through every hostel, we did a survey through every, department, that is the catering, on accommodation, the hostels, even the outside hostels, we always do the inspection, all through. So the awareness takes place all through the houses in JKUAT. And then number 2, we also held an event in conjunction with the environment. We had, that's where the bins are introduced. Exactly. We created every bin. We provided materials for the students to on the same. We also had a swimming gala for the students in first semester, and we also had an interaction with them.
So the funds that were allocated to you were well utilized.
Exactly. We also accounted for them.
All right, a very modest answer. We'll now take a short commercial break, and when we come back, we tackle more of the crucial questions.
You're now watching The Checkpoint. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to The Checkpoint. As you noticed earlier, we're focusing on Frida Kibet, the incumbent Catering and Accommodation Secretary. We are putting her on spotlight because she's been here before. She knows the drill about this position. And so to my next question, the beginning of this semester we had a huge issue with accommodation, with some of the new students being taken to the swimming pool to sleep there, the old student center. I mean, is this even okay? And what have you done to help out with this situation? And what are you planning to do in case we elected for the second time?
The accommodation issue is huge, actually. It's very huge. We are talking 2,200 students more as we had expected, 1,500 as the usual number is. So the accommodation space that you always have inside school, plus the hostels that the school hires to keep our students, were not, could not produce enough spaces for them. So we went as far as Kenyatta Road, swimming pool, and the old student center, as you had said earlier. It's not okay, according to me. It's really not okay, because it's not up to us as students to look for the spaces. It's up to the school to look for the spaces. So I went ahead, talked to the administration on my own, made the best MOUs that were able to go through that position. So I was able to convince the school to create more spaces through investors, in actually the government. And as we're speaking right now, we're having 2 contracts already in play. We have 2 letters. We're just looking to know who the contractors are. Then the process is supposed to start even before December.
So I'm taking that should be the long-term solution to this problem.
Not really. The contract was specifically for 8 or less months. So the hostels were supposed to be brought up in that period, not more, not less. Okay, and is this issue being handled as an urgent issue? Because seriously, this is not okay, having students, you know, as far as K Road. Yes, the way I addressed it earlier, we brought the government in. So we went ahead, wrote a letter to the ministry, and they came to us. So we proposed, I gave them a proposal on how we can work as fast as we can, so that next September we won't have such a crazy, let me call it crazy venture. So it's on, it's very serious. Exactly.
All right. So maybe on the same note, Jolene, you know, you're very young, and this is your first time, you know, vying for this position. And as we've heard, it's very clear that even in coming times, students may not always be accommodated within the campus. So do you feel that you can handle such a huge responsibility?
Yes, I think I can, and I know I can. In that, I was doing some research. There are some investors in real estate whereby you bring in the companies, they build hostels inside school.
Have you identified any?
Yes, I have. But for now, I wish to withhold them.
All right.
Okay, you bring them in, they build hostels, and then the money that the students pay goes to them. So the contract goes on till the time that it's fulfilled, then they go, the hostels become for the schools.
Okay. So coming back to you, Frida, we are concentrating on you because you've been the incumbent, catering and accommodation person. The Hall 6, the mess at Hall 6 has not been operating, What can you tell us about that?
In the previous years, we've been having problems with queuing systems on cashiers, on catering sites, only to notice that we never cook in the mess in Hall 6. We always carry the meals from the main mess to the cafeteria in Hall 6. So I was able to convince the school to buy new equipments, to install them so that you could have direct cooking and producing of foods there, so that you can have students not queuing for long, just waiting for food to be brought to that mess. So at the moment, everything is done. We're just waiting for the testing and installation of equipment, and then the process will run smooth.
What are your ideas on that?
The Hall 6 cafeteria, the process is a bit slow. So I want to...
And by process you mean?
It's under maintenance and the installation of the equipment. So I want to fasten it a bit so that we can see to the opening of it to reduce the congestion and the queuing and the other mess.
Okay. So as you wind up with Frida, why should we re-elect you? Why should we entrust you with our catering and accommodation issues for the second time? Anything new you want to bring to the table this time?
Yes, there's definitely new things, because at the moment, the achievement that we've made is not that sufficient for us as the students, because we are the main clients in the school. So it's up to us to convince the administration to provide every possible facility for the school. We are talking accommodation, we are talking even increasing the cafeteria space that we have, even if it's taking one of the staff cafeterias to be a mess because of the big numbers which are coming into JKUAT. So at the moment, I'm yet and I'm willing to go through the same process to make sure that the hostel renovation and the hostel creation process goes through as was set by the contract before December, so that by September next year we won't be having such a crowd being congested in one place.
So, my question is to you, Jolene. Although you've mentioned, investors and partnerships, which at times do take, long to foster, especially with public institutions where processes are very long and slow. What else have you identified as a short-term solution to the accommodation crisis?
For the solution, I'd wish to say that as students, we have a kitty, right? Our students' kitty account. I was thinking if the process is really slow, something small can be taken from there. We start a foundation. If the school sees us doing that, then what would stop the school from taking up the foundation?
So we will take a short commercial break. Don't move an inch though, because when you come back, we're going to focus more on Jolene. We want to know what are you willing to change in the face of catering and accommodation.
You're now watching The Checkpoint. Stay tuned.
So welcome back to the show. We are going to get the audience saying something small, getting their questions, putting their views on blast. But before that, guys, real quick, what are the functions or roles of the Catering and Accommodation Secretary? Since you're vying for this seat, I take you know what this seat really entails. Frida, we'll start with you.
Yes, catering and accommodation is not just about meals. It's not just about having a place to put your head at night. It's not about waking up and going to the bathroom. No, it's about how we live with each other, the environment that we have. It's about the health issues. It's about, of course, the food and accommodation is the whole picture, but everything else. It's about security. It's about where our students, whether regular or parent, whether all our students are okay or not. Do they have a way of accessing us? That is what our role is. We're supposed to make sure that everyone is okay wherever and where they reside.
Jolene, what do you know about catering and accommodation?
Under the catering and accommodation docket, we have the health department, which basically is the hospital and sanitation also. We have the accommodation, which are the hostel facilities for students inside and outside. We have the security for students within and outside also. And we also have the food, which is the mess. So compiling all those together, that's basically catering and accommodation. Also the pool side is for the catering and accommodation.
All right. We now take questions from the audience, and we'll start with the lady behind me.
Thank you very much for this time to hear my question. And as I ask the questions, I'm not asking just for myself. I'm representing those of us who are here and others who are outside there. So the first question I want to ask is on accommodation. When you talk of accommodation, you've spoken, it's about those who live inside the school and those who live outside the school. And the first question I want to ask is, how safe are we in the school? How safe are we outside the school? At the beginning of this sem, we had a requirement. Every student, every first-year student was supposed to come to school with a laptop. And indeed, parents came. Those who didn't have laptops were told, go back until you get a laptop, bring your student in. But unfortunately, right now, like 80% of those, 20% of those who came in with laptops, they don't have them. They've been stolen. And they're not being stolen in class. They're being stolen in the rooms. So my question is, does it mean our rooms are not so safe, that we cannot leave our valuables there? Or does it, or is there any measure or any step you're taking as the one in charge of accommodation to ensure that anything we come in with in school is safe? And the next question I want to ask, this has really affected the students who live inside here. I come in as a first year, my parent pays the fees for accommodation inside the school, only to come to be shown my room, it's already occupied by another person. The selling of rooms, this is what I'm talking about. So are you aware that rooms are being sold? We have students who are not supposed to be living in, who are living in. And yet there are students who are supposed to be living inside, who are living outside there. So my question is, and the worry we have in our hearts is, what is the accommodation and catering docket doing about this? Then the other issue is about beddings in the hostels. I believe when we come into the institutions, like I do a course that is taking 4 years, that means I'm here for the 4 years until they're over. That's the time I'll go back home. So that means this is my home for those 4 years. And if it's my home, I'm supposed to be comfortable as I live here. I shouldn't, like, we break for a holiday and when we are coming back, I'm like, I don't want to come back. So the question is, how comfortable are we? Are we giving our students a conducive environment? Are we making the students feel they want to be at school, or are they, like people say, najihurumia kuwa mwana JKUAT? Is that the attitude and the mentality in the minds of people? And lastly, I want to ask about outside hostel. Myself, I live outside the school. I'm a parallel student. The question I have is there, okay, are we students like the regular students? Like when it comes to issues being addressed in the school, we regular students don't get information. So the question is, what communication channels are you using? Are you incorporating all the students, whether regular, whether parallel? Because by the end of the day, we are all students. So I'd like those questions to be addressed. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Perhaps you can start with you.
Yes, tackling on the question on insecurity, I'd done a research and I was thinking if the school can liaise with, let's say, the police station, whereby they come in from a certain period of time, let's say 7 to around morning, because we only have the BAB security in place. So if we can bring them in to help us with the security maintenance, this has been functional in schools like Strathmore. So this can be put in place.
Yes, the same issue of security and theft has been something that has been addressed over some time, and I tried to convince the school to employ more janitors than the usual, because we have 2 janitors manning the same hall, but the school has already employed several other janitors for every specific hostel. We've also urged, we are creating an awareness to urge the students that whenever they leave their rooms, let them be locked every now and then, whether you go to the washrooms, whether you go to visit a friend in the next door, the doors should always be closed. It's also another matter on how we conduct ourselves among our friends. Is that person really your friend? But it's something that we are working on, and I'm still willing to work on to ensure that those laptops are still in place. There's also another thing. I realized myself last semester that when students clear outside the rooms, they always make copies of their keys. So I've taken a step, ensure that all locks are being changed. The process has already started in Hall 6, so all locks are being changed as we're speaking. So no one will be coming inside your room when they don't really have the real key to that room.
All right. Maybe in relation to that issue of security, you are aware that we do have a security department, in as much as we do have other contracted companies such as Barbs and I think Straight Security. Have you tried to liaise with our JKUAT security department, especially with those in charge, like the chief security officer, to try and come up with measures on how to, to best curb theft and other areas of insecurity?
Yes, actually the janitors are not under accommodation, they are under security. So as the first measure is, you're supposed to have sufficient and efficient janitors inside the hostels, well-trained janitors inside the hostels. So normally, these days when you walk inside the hostels, we are having the janitors there to key in everyone who's coming in, or monitoring the movement of the students. We also have a side where the chief security came in, and we don't just have security personnel as janitors. We're having security men installed in every sector inside the school, especially accommodation, both inside and outside. Because like in Mamambugwa or in Kasek, they are liaising with the same security inside school to ensure that the space or wherever the students are, they are well kept. So the same story applies to the police people in JKUAT and in Juja as a whole. They've all last, and we are working as one.
All right. She also touched on room allocations, and for a while now there's been an issue that rooms are not allocated fairly, because most regular students feel that, I may not be from a very able background, and I'm actually sacrificing maybe to even do a course that I may not like, simply because I want to be a regular student, right? But you find that even under those circumstances, these students may not always get fair treatment when it comes to getting a room. They have to get a room outside, because inside here it's been occupied, as she said, by someone who should not be there. So do you have a procedure for allocating those rooms fairly?
Exactly. Last semester we had an issue on the same, because we realized some connections are being made inside. So currently we're implementing we clean up the system before everyone else comes in. So as we're speaking right now, the students who are inside and are not supposed to be inside school were supposed to write letters. We've created procedures, because not everyone can afford the accommodation, right? Not everyone has the enough funds to pay for the accommodation fee. So I also went to the dean accepted, and these days we have students, if they really require the accommodation space, they write letters to the dean, they are verified, and they're also allowed inside the hostels. And then even parallel students, they can also stay inside school once they present their situations here, because we also understand that you're all our students. So yes, it is working.
So for you, Jolene, do you feel that the criteria should be a bit different?
Yes, that's why I bring in one of the point on my manifestos, whereby advocating for online allocation of rooms, in that we have a database which has your details when you're in school and when you're not in school, so that you can be able to, it's like book a room. The system will work in such a way that when you're not in session, it reads like access denied. You can't access it. So in this way we can prevent you as a student from accessing the room and doing business with it. Because I've done research and I've found out that students who are not even in session, they access the rooms, they get them, then they do business with it. So having this database can be able to detect when you're in school, for you to access it. When you're not in session, you can't access the rooms and stuff like that.
So very quickly, have you identified a software? Would this be a ready-made software, or would the institution have to contract someone to tailor-make one for such a need?
the software is there. What we have to do is to just add some details and do some rectifications here and there.
You know, having in mind that this school offers IT, so
Yes.
there's a couple of gurus who actually can manipulate their way around that and, you know, get a way out.
Yeah. Having that in mind, I will be the Accommodation and Catering Secretary, right? So when such a problem arises, I will contact the IT department to come in and help.
All right. We have a gentleman with a question.
Thank you very much. My questions are not mine personally, but I'm representing JKUAT, both main campus and satellite campuses. What I would like to say is that the health facility in JKUAT, I'm meant to believe that there's a missing link between the secretary in charge of catering and accommodation and the hospital. This is due to the response, the emergency response. Yeah, especially when there's a problem in our hostels or anywhere within the institution. Yeah, the response is not very good. You've talked of there are so many people to be connected, to be contacted. That's what I mean. But I would like a situation where we have a direct, something like a hotline, emergency hotline, direct, so that that particular number is everywhere, maybe at the door of every room. You see, so that we can directly connect to the, even if it means ambulance coming in, something like that. Yeah. So can you promise us that that will be in place in the next 30 days? Another question, this is for those who are living inside. We would like a situation where we cook in our hostels. Yeah, where we cook in our hostels. We realize that this one is something that has been requested by students year in, year out. As our accommodation and catering secretary, why don't you take this one with the seriousness that it deserves? We have other universities having kitchen names. Why don't we have some? That will help us to at least reduce in cost, especially for those who are living inside. Thank you very much.
So, Frida, you go first. Try and answer his question as much as you can. Although I think you've tried to bring the issues before, but for his sake, please answer the question.
Yes. On health, the hospital has given us a direct line. We now have the person in charge of emergencies, whether day or night. So usually when you contact that person directly, the ambulance comes for you. Yes, we've given all the numbers to every hostel, whether they're hostels being hired by the school or hostels that where other or regular parallel students stay. So all of them have a direct line. Whether it is not, if it is not the hospital, we have given them security numbers. The same security number works as a channel for the facility or the medical services. Yes.
So I think there's a breach of information here. Most students do not know about this number you're talking about. What can you do to ensure that they actually have these numbers with them, because you can never be too sure about what happens?
At the moment, every notice board in JKUAT has the number. Every office in JKUAT has the number. Every housekeeper or every caretaker in every hostel has the same number pinned on the karibu.
So it is a personal responsibility at this point.
Yes.
So Jolie, what do you think about this?
The response, the emergency response, is quite low. I can give you an example of we lost our first year during the semester at the poolside. Why we lost the first year is because they contacted the hospital for the ambulance to come, but it was slow. So we lost the guy. We also have another student we lost at Baraka hostels. All that is because of the slow response to the emergency. And also the hotline. The hotline is there, but in my manifesto, I want to revive it. Revival of the hotline for emergency response. In that all students can access this hotline. All students can access this hotline. I will see to it personally that it works. We know they are there, but sometimes you can call, no one picks. So I will personally see to it that it's working.
Right. So I know there's so much to this, but the one thing we can ask you, and we should ask you when you get there, please walk the talk. All right, try to answer the second question about cooking in hostels. Is this even okay? Can we ever achieve this?
Cooking in hostels has been a major issue, but at the moment we are talking kitchenettes. Yes, it is in the process. In the previous year, that was the top of my manifesto, and it is working at the moment. So all the procedures have been kept except the administration part. So we're just waiting for approval and the building of the same facility to be provided by the school to the students. Exactly.
How do you plan to go about this, Julie?
Cooking in the hostels. The hostels are quite small, so we really can't cook there. So the best thing we can do is to have a kitchenette, whereby there we put it in that as we're building the other hostels that I'm planning to build, we bring up the kitchen.
Okay. So for now, it's not a viable idea. That's what you're saying.
To cook inside, for security purposes and all. It's not.
All right. So as we wind up, we would like to give our aspirants, a chance to let us know what is in their manifesto. Some of us may not have seen their banners or the other small printed leaflets that they had. So here's your chance.
Yes, thank you. I'm basically running for the same seat because of 2 or 3 reasons. Because I have moved steps, I have created channels, and I have managed to convince the school to create enough space for the students. That is my number 1 priority at the moment because we're having the accommodation crisis. So I'm going, and I will ensure that the hostels are in place as planned by September next year, so that when students are coming, because at this time we're projecting 2,600, because this time we had 2,200. So at the moment, our greatest priority should be creating enough facilities, enough accommodation facilities for the students who are coming in, both whether you're regular or parallel, because the spaces are targeted to 5,000 spaces. And at the moment, the students who are living outside are around 1,900. So whenever the spaces are created, all students, whether you're regular or parallel, you'll all be accommodated in one space because you're one family. Exactly. I would also want to articulate the process of us interacting with other campuses, because as much as we're bringing in the events, how effective are they to them? Do they feel as part of us, or are we just keeping them there for the sake of? So I believe that through intercampus relations, through us connecting with them directly, not just through the administration, but as the student leaders, we can bring them here by creating events together, by holding our events even in their own places, making them feel JKUAT is also their home by creating one.
Something passing short?
Okay. The main thing I really want to do is to improve on the sanitation and emergency issues. By this, we have fire extinguishers in place, but to be honest, some of us don't really even know how to use them. We have emergency cases arising, but you find that we're just there. We don't know what steps to take. So with this, I want to bring up conferences. We can have fire drills once in a while, whereby we're educated in case of any emergency. We can have the Red Cross coming for the first aid kitty. So those are some of the things. And also sanitation. Sanitation begins with you as a person. You have to be hygienic, you as a person, for you to reach out to the others. So with that, you can and also counteract emergency issues. Also on the hostels, that's why I want to introduce the online allocation of hostels, whereby we have that database that keeps count. It's fairly done and at the right time.
So I think you have to give it up for the ladies. They've really tried as much as they can to put the issues they want to address on blast. And thank you so very much for joining us today. We look forward to a more interactive show next time. Thank you very much.